Thank you for tuning in to the Bo Templin Show. It is Tuesday, June 9th. It is about 11:30 here out on the West Coast. And on today's episode, we're going to do two different things. We're going to start by breaking down UFC 250 from this last weekend. I had hyped up this card last week, and shit, it delivered. It was one great night of fights. Props again to the UFC for making this happen, because other sports just can't seem to get it done, and they're willing to kind of be out on the front lines and take some of the heat, but I'm really enjoying those fights. Then on the back end of the episode, we're going to explore the power of the player right now. And I'm going to explain a little bit later, but right now we are seeing players recognize and potentially explore what their worth is, and how that's affecting negotiations across different sports, and how that might shake things up in the near future here. So without further ado, we can get started. This is the Bo Templin Show. All right, so what a great night of fights. Like, seriously, just top to bottom, T to B, great night of fights. I mean, starting with Sugar Sean O'Malley, who we hadn't seen in the ring for a couple years now, and he's, every time this guy steps in, it is a highlight reel. You can expect something special, and he delivered once again with a crazy walk to look up on your own, because this kid is really good. His level of competition that he's facing has not been great. I expect that to change here in his next fight or two. I would love to see him fight the next man that we're going to talk about, and that's Cody Garbrandt, who had one of the craziest knockouts I've seen in the UFC. Right at the bell at the end of round 2, he loads up a monster right hand that absolutely 135 division. Woo, it is at the top of its game right now. You've got like 5 to 6 contenders, legit guys who are superstars, fun to watch, whatever it is. The 135 division has it right now. And this last weekend was a huge night for the division, followed up by Corey Sandhagen versus Aljamain Sterling. This is what I thought was going to be the best fight of the night. And, I thought that Corey Sandhagen was just going to be a touch sharper. I thought Corey Sandhagen was going to be just good enough, slick enough to not get into the trap of the funk master Aljamain Sterling. I just thought he was too savvy, too much. You know what I mean? He's been in there before. Like, he knows what Aljamain Sterling's plan is going in. He knows how to avoid that, right? Well, wrong. Sterling proved that he is just that good. He went full backpack mode. Now, backpack mode is a move that Damian Maia made really popular, where you can get like a body triangle with your legs around a guy's waist, and you are just on his back. It is over then. Like, you get a good jiu-jitsu guy and he goes in backpack mode, it is over. And that's what Sterling did within like 2 minutes of the first round. It was over, and he puts himself now as the #1 contender. Now we just wait for Peter Yan and Jose Aldo to finish their fight. Sterling is next, but we got some guys right beneath him who are chomping at the bit for that 135 title. This might be the best division in the sport right now, which is wild to say, considering the 155 division and the 170 division, which it sounds like Burns is going to get that title shot against Usman in the 170 division. We talked about it last week. I thought it would be Masvidal. Negotiations fall through, and now Burns gets that chance. And then in the main event of UFC 250, she's the GOAT. She is the best to have ever done it. I said it last week. I say that every time she fights, people bring it up, how amazing she is. She is tearing people apart. Whatever you're best at, Amanda Nunes will beat you with. You want to wrestle, she'll out-grapple you. You want to box, she'll do that. She will do whatever it takes to win. Felicia Spencer, tip of the cap to her. She is a survivor now. She has done it a couple times against Cyborg. She did it against Nunes this weekend. She is one tough son of a bitch. There's no taking away from that. I don't know who to give Nunes next? There's no one. She's fought Shevchenko twice. She's won both of them. They're close fights, but Shevchenko's a natural 125er. Nunes is a natural 135er. I don't know what Nunes has next. She holds 2 belts. It's a 10-fight win streak. She's knocking people out. I don't know what to do. I got nothing. Please, someone help me because I do not know what to do with her. She is that good. She is that dominant. You know, we've seen it with Jones. We've seen it with Demetrius Johnson. People just run through division. They clean it out. They clear it out. And eventually it's just like age or an injury that is the thing that ultimately takes them down. I hope neither happen for a really long time because she's special, man. And just I enjoy seeing her smile in the cage. She seems like a great person. So I got her back. Amanda Nunes, the Lioness. She's the best in the world right now. Man, woman, weight class. I don't care. It doesn't matter.
That we are the it doesn't matter.
Over the weekend, we see Conor McGregor retire. We see Jorge Masvidal not get the title shot. How does this happen? John Jones turned into Batman. Dana White was asked about the negotiations going on with a lot of his top fighters and why they're not able to seem to figure it out. And here's what he had to say.
And everybody wants more money. And nobody wants to get laid off. And all these crazy things are going on in this world right now. Nothing is normal right now. Everything is crazy. And I am the only guy that is pulling off sporting events right now.
Right.
I get that, but you're asking me a question I don't know. I can't tell you what's going to happen in the next month with my business. I don't know. I don't give a
Right.
I'm doing what I can do to keep the bus on the highway here, or the train on the tracks, or whatever you want to call it. I don't give a If people don't want to fight, you don't have to fight. If you're afraid of COVID-19, stay home. If you're, whatever your deal is, you don't have to do it. I couldn't explain to you anything that's going on planet Earth right now. And neither can anybody else.
Did you, this thing from Conor seemingly out of, he's retired before, but had you seen this coming? Like, had you had any conversation with him that would indicate he might be planning to do something like this?
He's been wanting to fight. He's frustrated because he wants to fight. I'm sure that is a piece of it.
And the no fans, you can't have him fight? Is that essential?
No. It's not that we can't have him fight, but who do you want to fight right now?
Okay.
You want to fight Ferguson? I mean, you want to fight, he had called out Masvidal. Masvidal, okay. Who do you fight right now? And where do we fight Conor McGregor right now? Fight Island isn't even up and running till July. Mm-hmm. So if you look at all the problems to run a business like this, multiply it by a million. Right. And that's where we are right now.
And so we get to the theme of this week's episode, the power of the player. We're seeing players start to recognize and realize what their power can do. For most of sports history, we didn't get to hear much from the player. It was always the owner able to leak information to the media. The players were kind of hush-hush. They were asked questions about the game, and it stayed there. They didn't have the social media following that they do now. They don't have the personal brands, the shoe lines, the t-shirt deals, whatever it is. So players have a lot of invested power outside of their sport. And we're now starting to realize that, I deserve a little bit more money perhaps, especially in the UFC. With this in mind, could we see top fighters leave a company like the UFC in hopes of a more favorable contract? What could a John Jones, a Jorge Masvidal do in a Bellator style fight league, or in a one championship over in Japan type of fight league? Could they pull in big numbers? I kind of think they could. In the UFC, fighters are considered contractors, right? They're not employees of the UFC. But that's not exactly it, because a contractor would be able to go do other work in between the contracted work that they do for the company. If they're held to one company, they should be an employee. They should get benefits. Neither of those two things happen with the UFC, and it does feel a little bit like the fighters getting gypped out of what is probably rightfully theirs. Could these negotiations lead to a change? Now, continuing down that discussion of player power, it falls also in this MLB negotiation with the owners. Back in March, the owners offered or thought that they would be able to offer prorated salaries for their players, just saying, all right, well, whatever number of games we play, you guys will get that percentage of your contract. Now that they have a little more details, a little more information, they're saying, all right, so now we need to prorate and you're going to have to take a pay cut. Players don't love that, obviously. So in the last couple of weeks, since the negotiations have really picked up, they've offered 3 different proposals to the players. They look a little bit different in their structure, but essentially they're all the same in terms of money. The players will be receiving the same amount of money regardless of the 3 contracts. They just would vary on stipulations and the number of games. Had this debate occurred any time before 2005, maybe even 10, I don't know if we have the same perspective as we do now. This kind of feels like something that the owners would have been able to pin on the players, saying, "Oh, they're being selfish, they're being lazy, they don't want to fight, or they don't want to fight, they don't want to play, whatever it is." And people would have complained, saying, "Oh, the players, they just got to be better." Now we're able to kind of hear both sides of things, and it's opening our eyes a little bit, to say the least. With the voice of the players growing, becoming larger, and becoming louder, we're able to make our own decisions on who's in the right, who's in the wrong, and what the right deal should be. And really, for the MLB, it's a shame because this was the perfect opportunity to capitalize on an open market. They really could have gathered a lot of eyes on the sport. And, I've laid out why the sport's a dying game before, and stuff like this certainly does not help. And then finally, you have in another sport, at another age, the high school phenom, the high school superstar, Mikey Williams, receives 10 to 15 different offers from historically black college or universities. And he tweets out that maybe that's the way he wants to do things, and assuring people that he's not kidding or just talking about it. He's really thinking about it at this point. Most players for the last 30 years, you go to a PWI, you go to a UNC, a Duke, a Kansas, a Blue Blood. That's where players go if you want a chance to make the league. Last year, you see LaMelo Ball go overseas. He's going to go top 5 in the draft. Mikey Williams, with his millions and millions of followers on Instagram, he could kind of go wherever he wants now. He's recognizing his power. Are we going to see more players do stuff like this, regardless of the sport, regardless of the age? And how will that change things here in the near future? The power of these athletes is growing every day. It is changing the dynamic and the shape of these leagues by the minute. With more power, with a louder voice, come more options. Will we see these players start to explore those options? I think we might already be seeing it.